weeks ago, I was really excited when a new book arrived, and I shared it on a variety of social medias, and it was this. So Horde for Old School Essentials, and then Horde for Shadowdark. Both of these are effectively the same book, but obviously there's subtle differences as you go through the book, because obviously they are different systems. There is also one available for 5e that Roderick also sent to me. So I will be going through all three of them in this review today. There's been a slight delay in getting this up because I spoke to Roderick at the time of receiving them. We sort of messaged backwards and forwards over Facebook, which obviously I really appreciate the fact that these were sent to me. And I was like, when are they available? We're getting a lot of interest. And it's like, sadly, fulfilling Kickstarter first. And as soon as they're available, I'll let you know. Hence the reason for this video today, because they are now all available direct from TTRPG. As ever, I will include the links to them and show you where to pick it up. But before I get to that, I just want to explain how this video is going to work, because what I'm not going to do is 3 separate reviews and do 3 videos and record all 3 either on this video. But what I will do is I'm going to go through the Shadowdark one, because that is the rule set I'm far more familiar with. I will then show at the end a page by page on the Old School Essentials one and the 5e one, so you can see the differences within the books. Okay, so if you watch the first bit, you will then get me discussing the good and bad parts of the book and get an idea of what's going on. You can then just scroll straight to the end, see the Old School Essential stuff, so you can see the differences in there. It's predominantly, as you can imagine, game mechanic reasons. And the 5e one, the 5e's one has got a unique section that the rest don't have. I don't know why. I haven't asked Roderick in there, but so you do get a little bit more value for your money if you're going to get the 5e version. As ever, let's just jump straight over to TTRPG. I will include links for all 3, so you don't have to go and find your way through. But here we have it. So it's written by Roderick Weibel, is how he pronounces his name. I I checked it. I'm getting better at this, so I am starting to check names. So this is the Horde for Shadowdark version. By I should have said Eyes Grim Creations. Probably should have asked him that one too, but it is available on PDF and hardback cover, so that it's very sturdy. TTRPG, the quality of the books are getting really good, especially on the hardback. So, and if you pick up the hardback copy now, they will include the PDF for free, which is fantastic. And then just over to off camera slightly, we've got the one for Old School Essentials and 5e. But what does the book cover? So you've got 174 pages. So there's a lot in here. Fully fleshed out Orc and Goblin ancestries and clans or classes and occupations, rituals, hazards including poisons, disease, new spells, new classes, new monsters, war machines, which is amazing, and a ton of fantastic art is included in here. Let's not waste any more time, because I know you're quite desperate to see this. So let's just jump over and have a look at the books. So I'm starting off with this is going to be the Shadowdark version of it. All 3 versions are hyperlinked, which is great to see. So it's an absolute winner. But I'm going to come into a sort of my first negative of the book, and it's a weird negative, because the contents is actually more of an index. It's hyperlinked, so you can get everything, but it's quite a sort of bloated contents at the start. It's not really a major grumble, but I'm kind of used to contents being more of a summary, because it completely breaks down. But there is no index, so this is really an index contents. But if that's the only fault, then there are a few more as we go through, but then they're not biggies. But as you can see, we're going to start with a foreword, and this is really, we'll cover that when we get to it. So they've got 6 different ancestries for the Orcs, 6 different ones for Goblins, a load of new gods. We've got some rituals that aren't then broken down in the index, but all the artifacts are here. Ton load of spells. Especially, there's lots of spells around mushrooms, and we'll see, and that makes sense. But all of these are themed to Orcs and Goblins. Then get your classes. It's a bit weird that the classes come after the spells. Then got some cool rules on corruption. hazard section is tremendous, really good and frightening monsters in parts, orc armies, some goblin armies, some war machines, and then finally some GM aids with some sort of tables and plot devices, etc. in here. So we're going to start off with the foreword here, and this is just basically Rod sort of just going through. In modern times, orcs have become, in other games, let's say, become a little bit more friendly, more humanistic. And this just basically says, we're not concerned about that. This isn't more of a portrayal of classic, how people that have been in the hobby for quite a while have perceived orcs. And, there's no horribleness. There's no bad intentions or anything along those lines. Okay, so we're then going to get into the origins of the orcs. Now, you can see probably this is a problem that maybe is a me issue. I find it very strange. But we've got here in the top left and here, the top right, this is your sort of section headers, okay? And then you've got your subsection headers, which are larger and clearer, which I missed initially, hence the reason why I'm talking about it now. Just because it's the wrong way around. Does it matter? Not really, because it is kind of clear when you follow through from the contents, but it's just a little bit of a slight annoyance with me. Origins of the orcs. So this is, and goblins. So this is talking about, they're not really all evil, and talk about some of the reasons why they're evil. Was it dark magic transformation, underworld creation, twisted from vengeance? You can be whatever you want to be, but also they don't all have to be evil. There's a very classic Dungeons and Dragons drow character that broke away, so it doesn't mean you have to do this as a full-on evil campaign, but if you want to, there's lots in here that, well, especially when you get into some of the spells and the rituals, they're not necessarily evil per se, but they can be taken either way. Each of the ancestries or classes, depend on the book, will all be broken down by this. So you've got a little bit of a sort of story going into it. So we'll just look at the bestial one first. We'll then talks about the orcs have been radically altered to take on physical and mental traits of a particular beast. You then get the appearance, build, skin colour, facial features, the sort of clothing they wear, distinct features, some artwork. Then, so for example, this one, their power is primal, so one trait from the trait table over here. So this is there's 10 of them. There's no dice, but personally, I'd get the players to roll it. You could allow them to choose it, but I kind of think it's more fun if it's rolled, because I think some of them players might automatically want to go towards, but Shadowdark's a random rolling character generation, so I think, because most, they're all pretty good. So, yeah, let them roll it. You can work it out on a D10. It will then sort of go down for things like, the culture, family, clan, what they do on a daily living, and arts and crafts, their general behaviour, tactics, religion, superstitions, preferred religion, leadership, and government. So, as you'll see as we go through them all, there's an awful lot of background and details over 3 pages and artwork for this one. So we've got this classis, which is sort of, let's say, pig-faced people. And again, these are slightly smaller, but they get this warlike trait. So choose one weapon type, gain 1+1 bonus to attack rolls with it. Again, covering their tactics, religion, etc. Some second piece of art here. The Guth tack for the Horde. This is instantly going to remind anyone that's played World of Warcraft, your traditional classic big stocky orc with tiny head, or they've got big shoulders and arms, however, whichever way you look at it. But these are going to gain an extra gear slot and a +1 bonus to melee attack rolls. We then get the high sect in here. So these tend to be, well, the constitution, they're going to get constitution checks against resistance and disease are made at advantage. And these are more of your sort of voodoo-y, mystical shaman type orcs. We then get the lowly little minion, which says in here they are the lowest of the caste in orcs, but because of the pity, they do get a +2 bonus to reaction rolls. And then finally from the orcs, we get this Ugmar, which really is like a half orc, as you can see by the artwork here. They are also well-rounded, so they're going to increase their lowest ability score by +1, which is either going to be really good or isn't going to have much of an effect, depending whether they are odd or even. But it does talk about their culture, from they are believed to have come from, human society, etc. We're then going to get into the goblins ones. Again, see this, yeah, it's frustrating the way it's done. And we get Gut Barak, and all these goblins are considerably shorter than the orcs, obviously, because goblins are. So we get this Gut Barak here, and they can't be surprised. And again, we're going to go through all the different behaviours, superstitions, etc. Then we get the minions here, which are like these little workers, and they senses they're darkness adapted. These can see in the dark, which is a really interesting. That's of all the books I've done. Obviously, the original Orc one that I looked at has it as well. I don't think I've ever seen anything else that's got this darkness adapted. And then we've got the Servants of Garesh, which is one of the gods. Again, mystical, shamanistic type people. And these undead don't automatically attack them. You're going to get a reaction roll. They'll still attack the rest of the party, mind. So you can kind of just hide at the back. We then got Spider, which is sort of very Gollum-esque from Lord of the Rings, the way it looks. And these can climb really fast, so their climb speed is exactly the same as their base movement. And then finally, we've got the Vulkar here, which are sort of like, really, they're the sort of goblins that live, as you say, live in the sewers and the underworld. And these are elusive, and they get a +1 AC to range attacks. We've then got a section on gods. And I think there was about 10 gods in here, for 5 of each for orcs, some general orcs, some for the high sect as well, and then ones for goblins. And they've all got different domains, the appearances, their symbols that come alongside them, as well as a priestly boon for each and all of them. Rituals is up next. I like this. This is a good section, and each of the rituals will have some sort of preparation. As you can imagine, that is what you need to do to start the ritual. The opening, how the ritual then opens, the main act of the ritual, and then closing. Not all of the rituals will have a closing, so this is the sort of after effect, or how it ends, because some of them will just end over a period of time, or they will... we'll look at one. We'll look at Chakala's Boon, should we go with. So preparation, so this is a brief ritual meant to call for Chakala's Boon right before or even during combat. So if this is successful, the orc will gain a +1 bonus to attack rolls for a minute. So that's all they need to do to prepare. There isn't any candles or anything else that they need to have with them. The opening, the orc slices their hand and calls out for Chakala. The main ritual, after the blood begins to flow, the orc smears their own blood on their face and enters a rage. Then closing, the bonus is conferred once the main ritual is completed. And so these are all very sort of war. There's one that actually right at the start, which is all about making sure that you do it with a pregnant orc, and it's basically designed to make the new orc that comes out a lot stronger and more powerful. We're then going to get into artifacts, and these are a ton of interesting and very orc goblin themed magical weapons. For example, the drums of war. So these are a pair of drums made of bone and human skin. And while they're being played, any creature within range must succeed on a DC Wisdom check or become frightened for as long as the drums are being played. And we've all had that, orc drummers, that type of thing that goes on. Mycelium Crown, so that there's a lot in here that are about fungi and mushrooms because of one of the classes that's coming up in here. All of the artifacts as well, so it will tell you which orc will give them, or which orc faction should be having them. And also it might be so like the Servants of Garesh here for this artifact, but also some of them are actually linked to gods and rewards. And well, then we're going to get into the unique goblins spells and magic. And again, this is a really good section. So we're just going to start off with this one. So animate fungi. It's a big theme I keep saying about the fungi. The caster touches a patch of mushroom or fungi, imbuing it with necrotic energy. The fungi grow rapidly, making the form of a fungal zombie that obeys the caster's command. The fungi returns to their original harmless state when the spell ends. It's going to last for 5 rounds. There's loads of stuff like this, like bloodlust to do rages, corrupting wasps. there's this level 5 wizard spell here, so it's going to make greater zombie, which I just love. Because I'm never allowed to play necromancers or anything along those lines. I just love the thought of playing this, and you can do all the stuff like zombies and have, you know, fungals. And we've got a fungal infection here, which is going to do lung damage to people and take hit points off. Goblin tinkering. The caster chooses a trap they can see within range for the duration. Find any traps and or disarmed can be made at disadvantage. So yeah, it's just going to make things harder for people. Horde summoning. This spell can cause a small horde of goblins to appear. Who doesn't want to summon a mass? And that's going to be really interesting because in a recent, I was playing. I can't think what I was running now. Oh, it was Horde Wars, and one of the encounters in there, the players basically came into the room, and there's a spell in there that allowed me to summon creatures into the room. So the melee people came to the front. Ranger sat at the back, being all smug with his bow, and then I just summoned the new people in the room and surrounded the ranger. Absolutely brilliant. So I do like summoning spells. They make it great for the games master and really good and interesting for the player. And we've got Rot Bloom here. So the caster creates an area near size radius at a point that they can see within range. And toxic, any creature within this area will suffer a D6 46 toxic damage. So they're all little nasty, not very nice spells. We're then going to get into the 5 classes, which I find it weird that the classes are after the magic section. It's, again, all of my nitpicks in this are, I think, based on layout more than anything, because there's also little bits where there's different fonts used, and that kind of annoys me as well, but there's nothing really wrong with the content. So we've got a fungal warrior, again, back with the fungus and the mushrooms. So this is a warrior class that's got a D8 hit points, but the connection with the fungal growth allows the warriors to sprout protective layer of mycelium across their body. This grants them temporary hit points after an overnight rest is complete. These hit points don't stack though. Additionally, these growths grant advantage on all resistance. Then we've got the Hand of Death, which are a bunch of assassins. They only get a D4. They're going to be a little bit squidgy, but they do get the Touch of Death. Members of the Hand of the Death are infused with necromantic energy, becoming quasi-undead. The hand can touch corpse and piles of bones and animate skeletons and zombies they control for an hour. And they also get the Touch of Goresh. The Hand of the Death hits a target with surprise. They can choose to apply damage as magical, and the target have their maximum hit point total reduced by the same amount of damage until they get a full day's rest. Nasty little assassins. Good news is they've only got a D4 hit points. And then we've got this, again, back with the mushrooms, so the Mycelium Priest. So D6 hit points are set in the middle, but they're going to get divine magic. They get, obviously, the deity favours, which we looked at earlier in the book, the magical research, and they are a full caster with full casting all the way up to level 10. The Bloodletter is a more orc-based one, so some orcs are bred for war more than others. Their entire lives are built around training for brutal battles. They're going to get a D8 hit points. Most armor, I think, is included in there, and then they're going to get all weapons. They're going to athletic, so their climb is equal to their move speed, and they gain advantage on strength, but they are going to get this blood rage, which does link into, again, some of the other orc abilities, which is going to gain them bonuses to hit and bonuses to damage. And then finally, we've got war leader or war chief, is the way I would think of it. The war leader is more than just an orc warrior. They're accomplished fighters. Again, all weapons, all armor, and a D8 hit points. And they can do this war cry, which does an intimidating aura that inspires and terrifies the other enemy. So as a free action, they can choose a number of creatures up to their level within a close radius that they can see. Enemies gain hit points equal to the war leader's charisma bonus, while the enemies must make a wisdom ability against it to become frightened. They're also going to get Taskmaster. By spending their actions, the leader can inspire an ally they can see within distance. That creature gains a bonus attack on its rolls, and the ability check equals to the war leader's charisma bonus to a minimum of 1. So that's not too bad, because obviously, because you get that minimum of 1, not everyone's going to necessarily have a charisma. Then get a section here on corruption, which is, well, it's quite a deadly way of reducing characters' hit points. And once they are corrupted, every day they're exposed to corruption, they must succeed on a DC Constitution check or move one line down the corruption. And it does say that once they get to 4, you're going to give up your character. So here we've got, they become irritable, behavior becomes erratic and unpredictable, physical changes may manifest, and major physical changes will happen. A lot of it is going to be down to the games master, but as you can see from the image here on the right hand side, it's bad. But just a pro tip here, turning a PC into an entity will take away the player's agency. So there are ways of corruption. It's not going to be an easy thing to do, and it might sidetrack or derail the adventure for a little bit, but better that than losing your character entirety. Hazards, I like this because, you know, Orcs tend to rely on battles and war to defeat their enemies, but Goblins not as much so. They like to use traps. So we've got like a pus vine here, sentient vine, spore infection, which it's a D12 constitution or suffer 4d6 damage. You know, fire will quickly burn the fungus away and prevent it from spreading. So set them on fire. And then we got this. This is such a great idea for a trap. I've never done this before. A concealed ooze. The favourite tactic for many goblins is to submerge or otherwise conceal deadly oozes underwater or other liquid. This tactic typically results in an ooze having a DC 17 stealth check. Amazing. I'm going to be putting this in lots and lots of my adventures when there's water in dungeons. Just stick an ooze in there. It's a great idea. Falling blocks, some obscuring spores, again playing with fungi, and then oil as well as peepholes. This is such a great piece of art as well. You know, oh, what's in there? Book, eye gone, swinging log, the classic, and then toxic gas. We've got a section on different poisons and the effects in the constitution to save against them. And then finally, we've got disease induced in toxins as well. So there's so much sort of little nasty, as you can imagine, the way goblins are going to be. So we can then get into monsters. I think there was only sort of 6 or 7 monsters, but some of them are pretty big and scary, and others we don't know, because again, this is a weird thing. I love this in role-playing books when they actually, so here's your creature, abomination dog, and you've got some artwork here just to give you an idea of the size. Really, really good. Until I go over the next page, and we haven't got one for the bloater, but we've got one for the corrupted wasp. Don't know why. It's just, it's again, it's these minor annoyances on an otherwise absolutely fantastic book. So we've got the Fungal Goblin. Here we go. Level 8 creature here. Some good stats. It's got fungal regeneration, so it can regenerate 2 hit points around. And it's big. You can see the size of it here. Then we got the High Priest Aggress. Probably doesn't need a character. We then get the Inquisitor of the Fungal God, which is a level 14 creature. And we get some art on the back page here and a background, as well as some adventure hooks, which is a way of just getting this creature into it. Spawner Garesh. Again, adventure hooks. This is level 5. What we don't get on a couple of these, well, you don't really need the scale size in here, but I think because the Inquisitor is a level 14, it would have been nice just to get an idea of exactly how large it is. So we've got the Thorax here, which is a flying level 8 creature, and then finally a War Chief. We'll then into Orc armies and Goblin armies, and it just sort of gives you an idea of what a difference between a horde, a warband, companies, etc. in here, and gives you an idea of some specific ones with names. So you've got the Doom Claw Company, and the sort of the break up of exactly what's in there and all the sections. I like the fact it's in here because what it does mean, so there aren't many books where you go on and you deal with warbands, but again, from a thematic point of view, Goblins and Orcs, we kind of have this impression that they're quite warring. So it's an idea of exactly how it breaks down, what they would look like if you got into it. And then we get, it's not quite my favorite, it's one of my favorite sections, this War Machine section here. So we've got this blood furnace wagon, a bone catapult, which is exactly how it seems, the flame belcher chimera. This is a crude war machine, which is a horrific amalgamation of stolen technology and natural and horrors. And this is so it's a Goblin fashioned furnace that burps or fires out fire. It's like a fire cloud, if that makes sense. And then we've got where it's on that page, yeah. So we've got this utterly gross, disgusting thing here, and I'll just scroll it back, and you can see there's the man or goblin or orc, whoever's going to be in charge, seems to stand on top of here to direct it. And this is a rot sprayer wagon, which is absolutely amazing. I'll let you read that for yourself. And you got all the stats here. So the AC to hit it, the hit points, how far it can move, the crew required to move it, and any sort of attack bonuses and then sort of damage is in there. We're then going to get a bunch of GM aids toward right at the back of the book. So this will give you some orc plot hooks. There's some goblin plot hooks as well, so like orcish underworld. The party discovers an orc tribe has taken over a forgotten city. They must explore the ancient ruins and retrieve the lost relic before the orcs find it. They get a clan occupant at occupation table, so roll a d20 and then you can decide what sort of companions they've got traveling around with them, all the way up to 1 wyvern. But this will depend on the size of the clan, because as the clans get larger, you're going to get more and more of the creatures. And then finally, we've got these random tables here of the locations of the orcs. We then get 2 random maps here, which obviously you can put in. There's no sort of details on them, but they're numbered, so you can just nicely create your own dungeons and encounters from them. And then the book closes down with goblin phases and orc phrases as well, which is quite a cool little fun section. So that is the Shadowdark book. So as I said, I'm going to now just look through the Old School's Essential one, and as you can see, it's pretty much laid out exactly the same. So all we're going to do is I'm going to show you, give you an idea of how, let's say the bestial one. So it will just give you here the base requirements to be this type of orc, and then any sort of ability modifiers and the languages you're going to get, etc. in here. So, and this will just, for all of them, they're going to be exactly the same, and they might have additional things. So the spells, etc., are going to be exactly the same, other than they are themed for it. But as you can see, layout very, very similar. All we're getting is an update for Old School Essentials here on all the races. So, for example, the spider ones here, they still get the climb, so it's still got the same theme, but they do have basic requirements and ability modifiers for all of the races. We've then got exactly the same bits as the gods. Some of the priestly boons are similar, if that makes sense, because say the theme of all the books are exactly the same. So there's this. It's to me though, it's an incredible amount of work, because as much as we sort of look at books and go, that's the same as that, but it's slightly different. There's a lot of additional work, but really appreciate what Roderick's done here for the Kickstarter to sort of fulfill this for lots of different backers as well, to cover lots of different games. But we'll sort of cover that in as we go through. Oh, we do get there's a mount section here. Oh, we didn't get that in the Old School. I missed that when I was going through. Different priests, bloodletters. So it's slightly different, actually. Still got all the poisons, monsters. Exactly the same. So the artwork is here. Well, that's moved, hasn't it? The artwork for the fungal god. That's a new piece of artwork as well. That isn't in the Shadowdark book. Still get the warbands section on the armies. Really cool gut sprayer, GM guides, names, locations, both the maps and phrases at the back. Okay, so I will do the 5e one as well. So we're going to do this again, hyperlinked. So it's exactly the same, but what this does differently is, so up to a point, obviously being the same. So, artifacts, spells, etc. But what you've got with this one is you've got a load of new feats, because 5e uses feats, fighting styles as well. And then we've got the subclasses are obviously derivatives of the standard 5th edition classes, And then one thing it does there, we've got the same as it ever is as well, which is a sort of 12-page story at the back. But other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same. Obviously, you're not going to get stats changes for the different races in here, because it doesn't really make a difference in 5th edition anymore. But all in here, so it does make the layout a little bit different, because what you don't get is you don't need that. What's it called when you have the little folder, the little sort of box? It's probably called something other than a box in here. But again, all looks very familiar as to the Shadowdark one, but the artifacts are going to have slightly different sort of game mechanics, as well as the spells, as you'd imagine, because 5th edition is very similar to Shadowdark and Old School Essentials, but essentially it's different. But yeah, so we've got the feats here, and Mycologist. As you can increase your intelligence by +1, you receive all types of fungi and molds. So there's so much fungi stuff in here. Fighting styles as well. So Giant Slayer, when attacking a huge or large-sized creature, you add your proficiency bonus to damage rolls. That's a new piece of art. I don't remember seeing that in any of the 2 books. So we've got the subclasses with all the abilities kicking in all the way up to level 20. Again, for the Hand of Death, Mycelium Domain, which obviously is going to be a cleric class. The Bloodletter, which is barbarian, and then the War Leader, which is a fighter class. Details covering the corruption, and then we'll get into all the traps, poisons, and the diseases as well. We got then the monsters, all sort of tuned in for 5th edition in here. More new art. It's quite cool that the art, that's stunning. That is good. I think, did we see that in the Old School? I think we did catch that. That's larger as well. But I guess it's because of space. You're using your art, and then you're sort of moving it around, aren't you, to fulfill the space that's in here? Because the War Machine Rot Sprayer is considerably smaller. That is the right way around, because in all the other books it's rotated 90 degrees, isn't it? And then we've got the Same As Ever Was, which is a story here, which is, it's weird that it's not included in the rest, but it's an okay story. There's nothing. I don't mean okay. I don't mean like that. It's just always a little bit strange that it's in one, not in the other. And then we've got all still the plot hooks, adventures, occupant, sorry, Orc and Goblin locations, as well as different maps here actually. We've got one bonus map, haven't we? Which is a level 3 map. I'm not a fan, and I've picked up on a few adventures like this, and I struggle space-wise. I don't know about anyone else with these sort of 3D cross-section maps. This one's actually not too bad, because they're all on top of each other. But some of them I've looked at when it confuses me. And then the phrases, etc. But that's it. That is the look across all 3 Horde books. Now, obviously, I've had a couple of grumbles. Predominantly, it's layout, font, headers, and there's a few spelling mistakes in the books. Which, see, these are older PDFs, so I'm assuming that some of those issues will have been cleared up by now. But that's it. I have absolutely no grumble at the contents. The contents is absolutely amazing. It does what it says on the tin. If you want to play an orc in any of 3 games, which is, I've never known a creator do this so far, that some of them will include rules and bits to convert, but to actually go and create 3 whole new books, as you can see, with different layouts and different art pieces, is a huge amount of work. And it's obviously a work of love, because to want to open it up to as many markets, I think, is an absolute genius idea. And it's great. There are a ton of player options in here. So if you're a player and you want to play any of these, great. More importantly, from my point of view as a games master, I can now make my orcs utterly interesting. Because the problem with any, monster a lot of the time is you don't not humanize it, but we don't give it. They just tend, sometimes it can just be a stat line. But with this, you can create armies of orcs, armies of goblins. You've got a lot of spells. You're going to make every NPC really interesting. But flip that round from a player's point of view. If they are bored of playing heroic type creatures and they just want to go, oh, let's just play murder hobo-y type people for a while, and we don't want to be, you know, going out there being humans, being murder hobos, let's be orcs. Which bring me on to a potential problem that, from a mechanical point of view and a player's mind, is what are orcs killing? So potentially they're killing a bunch of humans, which, do we have a problem with that? I don't, if I'm going to be playing an orc, but some people might. So I suppose there is that aspect to it. But I love it. Absolutely. I love the fact that, you know, all 3 books are out there. And I can forgive my minor annoyances of layout and header, because reality, it kind of means nothing, because you're judging it on the content that's in here. But these are ace. These are absolutely amazing books. So if you're going to pick them up, you can pick them up for whatever system that you want. And because one of them is Old School Essentials, that's a nice, easy convert for things like Castles and Crusades as well. So it's available for everyone. Be an orc, murder humans. That's how I'm going to end this. I actually just said that. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. When you pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link. And as ever, thank you everyone that does use my affiliate link. As I said, I didn't pay for these. You know, Roderick was very, very kind to send them through to me. He also didn't ask me to do a review. I was like, I'm doing a review because this is great. I hope you can see what wonderfulness is in the book. I'm going back to it. Play orcs, kill humans. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.